Help us reach 1,000 subscribers on our new channel Lesbian Stories. We hope you enjoy the story. Life wears a different face when you're sitting 13 feet above everyone else in a courtroom. I'd spent 7 years behind this bench, but today felt different. The same-sex marriage case before me wasn't just another dispute. It was going to make history in Oceanside, and I could feel the weight of it pressing down on my black robe. Your Honor, the state maintains that traditional values. The prosecutor's voice faded into background noise as I noticed a young woman slipping into the back row. Black hair cascading past her shoulders, sharp green eyes scanning the room with fierce intelligence. She wasn't a regular courthouse face, but something about her demanded attention. The morning session dragged on with the usual legal theater until I finally brought down my gavel. We'll reconvene tomorrow at 9. As the courtroom cleared, my clerk appeared with a note. Judge Mitchell, your 2 p.m. appointment is waiting in your chambers. I had completely forgotten about the PhD student who'd requested an interview about same-sex marriage legislation. Walking into my office, I froze. It was her, the woman from the courtroom. Dr. Lucy Chen, she said, extending her hand with a confidence that caught me off guard. Thank you for agreeing to help with my dissertation research. Her handshake was firm, warm. Please call me Erin, I heard myself say, immediately wondering why I'd offered such informality. I never did that with interviewees. I noticed you observing the proceedings, I said, settling behind my desk. Part of your research? Actually, I was studying you. Her direct gaze made my chest tighten. Your reputation for fairness precedes you, especially in civil rights cases. The next hour passed in a blur of probing questions that went far deeper than the usual academic inquiry. Lucy had a way of making me examine my own beliefs, pushing past my carefully constructed judicial neutrality. Do you believe love should have legal limitations? She asked, leaning forward slightly. That's not a question I can answer as a sitting judge, I replied automatically. I'm not asking the judge. Her eyes held mine. I'm asking Erin Mitchell, the person behind the robe. The air seemed to thicken between us. For the first time in years, I felt seen, not as Judge Mitchell, not as Richard's ex-wife, but as myself. It was terrifying and exhilarating. Time's up, my clerk called through the intercom, making me jump. Lucy gathered her materials unhurriedly. One last question, she said, pausing at the door. Would you be willing to meet again? There's so much more to explore. The word yes left my lips before I could think better of it. As I watched her walk away, my hands were trembling slightly. I told myself it was just the aftermath of an intense intellectual discussion. But deep down, in a place I'd kept locked away for years, something was stirring. Something that would soon turn my carefully ordered world upside down. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lucy's questions echoed in my mind, along with the memory of her smile, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking deeply, the slight floral scent that had drifted across my desk. Damn it, Erin, I muttered to my dark bedroom ceiling. What are you getting yourself into? I had no idea then just how much that afternoon would change everything. 3 days after our interview, Lucy's words were still running circles in my head. I'd catch myself daydreaming on the bench, remembering the way her eyes lit up when she made a particularly passionate point. It was affecting my concentration, something that hadn't happened since law school. Earth to Erin, Claire's voice cut through my thoughts. My fellow judge and closest friend was waving a hand in front of my face. I've been talking to you for 5 minutes. Where are you? We were having our usual morning coffee in my chambers, a ritual we'd maintained for years. Just thinking about a case, I lied, stirring my now cold coffee. Right. Claire's knowing look made me squirm. Would this case happen to be the gorgeous doctoral student I saw leaving your office the other day? I nearly choked. It's purely professional. She's researching same-sex marriage legislation. Honey, I haven't seen you this distracted since your divorce. And that's saying something. Before I could protest, my clerk knocked to remind me about court, saved by the bell. Later that afternoon, seeking escape from my thoughts, I walked to Ocean Brew, my favorite coffee shop 3 blocks from the courthouse. And there she was, sitting by the window, surrounded by papers and looking frustratingly beautiful in a casual green sweater that matched her eyes. She spotted me before I could retreat. Judge Mitchell, join me? I really shouldn't. But my feet were already moving toward her table. Still having trouble with personal versus professional boundaries? Her teasing smile made my stomach flip. It's just coffee. 2 hours later, we were still talking. Not about legislation or court cases, but about everything else. Books, music, our families. Lucy told me about growing up in Seattle with 2 moms, fighting for their rights long before it was mainstream. Is that why you chose this research topic? I asked. Partly, she hesitated. Also because I've seen too many women trapped in heteronormative expectations, afraid to acknowledge who they really are. Her gaze was too knowing, too penetrating. I stood abruptly. I should go. Erin, she called as I reached the door. Sometimes the scariest paths lead to the most beautiful destinations. That night, reviewing cases in my home office, I couldn't focus. Every document reminded me of Lucy. The marriage equality brief, her passionate defense of love without boundaries, the custody dispute, her story about her mom's fighting for adoption rights. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Thank you for the coffee conversation. Your perspective is invaluable to my research. Dinner sometime? I stared at those words until they blurred. This was dangerous territory. I was a federal judge, for God's sake. I had a reputation to maintain, a position of authority to preserve. And yet, my fingers moved before my brain could stop them. I know a quiet place near the beach. Claire's voice echoed in my head. When was the last time you did something just for yourself, Erin? The truth was, I couldn't remember. My whole life had been about meeting expectations. My parents, the bar associations, societies. But sitting across from Lucy today, I'd felt something I thought I'd buried years ago, desire. Not just physical attraction, though that was undeniably there, but a deeper yearning for authenticity, for connection, for the freedom to be myself without the weight of my robe and title. Damn it, I whispered, setting down my phone. I was in serious trouble, and the scariest part was I wasn't sure I wanted to find my way out. It's a professional conference, Lucy insisted over the phone. The LGBTQ Legal Rights Symposium happens to be highly relevant to your position. Her voice carried that mixture of challenge and charm that had been dismantling my defenses for weeks. I found myself standing in front of my closet that Saturday morning, agonizing over what to wear to a conference I had no business attending. I finally settled on a navy pantsuit, professional enough to maintain appearances, but the silk blouse underneath was a shade of emerald that reminded me of certain eyes I couldn't forget. Lucy was waiting outside the convention center, her black hair caught in the ocean breeze. My heart did that inconvenient flutter it had started doing whenever I saw her. You came, she said, beaming. Purely professional interest, I reminded her, and myself. The conference was actually fascinating, but I barely absorbed any of it. Lucy sat next to me during every session, her thigh occasionally brushing against mine. Each time, electricity shot through my body, making it impossible to concentrate on the speakers. During the lunch break, we snuck away from the networking crowd to a quiet courtyard. How are you finding it? Lucy asked, picking at her salad. Eye-opening, I admitted. Though I suspect that was your intention. She smiled. Judge Mitchell, are you suggesting I had ulterior motives in inviting you? Didn't you? The playful atmosphere shifted as our eyes met. Yes, she said softly. I did. The afternoon sessions were torture. Every discussion about identity and authenticity felt personally directed at me. When the final speaker finished, I practically fled to my car, needing air. Erin, wait. Lucy caught up to me in the parking garage. Talk to me, please. I turned, and she was so close I could smell her perfume, something light and floral that had been haunting my dreams. This is inappropriate, I whispered. What is? Being true to yourself? I'm a federal judge. I can't just what? Feel, live, love? The word love hung in the air between us. My back was against my car now, Lucy standing close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes. I've never. My voice trembled. I know. Her hand came up to cup my cheek, and I couldn't help leaning into her touch. But you want to. The kiss, when it came, was softer than I'd imagined, and God help me, I had imagined it. Her lips were gentle, questioning, giving me every chance to pull away. Instead, I found myself pulling her closer, my hands tangling in her hair as years of denial crumbled in the space of a heartbeat. The sound of a car door slamming somewhere in the garage made us jump apart. Reality crashed back in. Who I was, what this meant, what I stood to lose. I can't do this, I gasped, fumbling for my car door handle. Aaron, Lucy's voice was pleading. I have to go. I practically threw myself into the driver's seat, my hands shaking so badly I could barely start the engine. I drove home on autopilot, my lips still tingling. In my driveway, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. Flushed cheeks, mussed hair, eyes bright with something I hadn't seen in years. Life. My phone buzzed with a message from Lucy. I won't apologize for the kiss, but I will wait until you're ready. Inside my empty house, I poured myself a generous glass of wine and tried to think rationally. My career, my reputation, my entire identity, everything was at risk. But for the first time, a stronger voice was drowning out those concerns. What if the reward was worth the risk? I touched my lips, remembering the softness of hers, the way she'd tasted of coffee and possibility. Oh God, I whispered to my silent living room. I was falling, and I wasn't sure I wanted to stop. The morning headlines hit my desk like a bomb. Federal Judge Mitchell spotted at LGBTQ conference. The local paper had buried it on page 6, but online speculation was already running wild. My clerk handed me printouts from various legal blogs, her expression carefully neutral. Judge Mitchell's presence raises questions about impartiality in upcoming same-sex marriage case, one headline screamed. Another was more direct. Is Judge Mitchell playing for the other team? Cancel my morning appointments, I told my clerk, then closed my office door and sank into my chair. My phone buzzed. Claire. Have you seen it? She asked without preamble. I'm looking at it now. The Chief Justice wants to see you. Marcus Peterson's office always reminded me of an old boys' club, all dark wood and leather. He was waiting behind his massive desk, looking grave. Sit down, Aaron. He pushed the newspaper across his desk. Care to explain? I was conducting research for the Matthews case, I said smoothly. Understanding all perspectives is crucial for... Cut the crap, he interrupted. You were seen with that doctoral student, rather intimately. My blood ran cold. Had someone seen us in the parking garage? Your personal life is your business, Marcus continued, but this court's reputation. With all due respect, I cut in. My attendance at an academic conference has no bearing on my ability to interpret law. His expression hardened. Consider this a friendly warning, Aaron. Distance yourself from the situation. I was still seething when I returned to my office to find an unexpected visitor. Tall, elegant, with perfectly styled red hair, definitely not Lucy. Sarah Williams, she introduced herself with a predatory smile. Lucy's ex. My stomach dropped. My clerk should have. Oh, I can be very persuasive. She examined my office with calculated interest. Lucy always did have a thing for powerful women. If you're here about the conference, I'm here because Lucy's making a mistake, again. Sarah's smile turned sharp. She has a habit of falling for straight women in authority positions. It never ends well. Before I could respond, Lucy burst through my door. Sarah, what the hell? Just having a friendly chat with your latest research subject. The way they looked at each other spoke of history. Passionate, complicated, unfinished. My chest tightened with an unfamiliar sensation. Jealousy. Get out. Lucy's voice was cold. Now. After Sarah left, Lucy turned to me, her eyes bright with unshed tears. I'm so sorry. I never thought she'd... Maybe she's right, I interrupted. Maybe this is a mistake. Aaron, please. The media attention, your ex, my position, it's too complicated. Life is complicated. Lucy stepped closer. But some things are worth fighting for. Before I could respond, my intercom buzzed. Judge Mitchell, the Conservative Justice Alliance is requesting a statement regarding this morning's article. Lucy's face fell. They're going to keep coming after you because of me. It's not your fault. But we both knew this was just the beginning. That night, alone in my chambers, I stared at the photo on my desk, me at my swearing-in ceremony, so proud, so certain of my path. Now everything was shifting, and I wasn't sure where solid ground was anymore. My phone lit up with a message from Lucy. I broke up with Sarah 2 years ago because she wanted me to hide who I am. Don't ask me to hide again. Another message from Claire. Whatever you decide, I've got your back. And finally, an email from Marcus. Emergency Judicial Review Board meeting tomorrow. Topic: recent media concerns. I pressed my forehead against the cool window glass, watching the sunset over the ocean. Everything I'd worked for was at risk. But for the first time in my life, losing it didn't seem like the worst thing that could happen. The worst thing would be losing myself, and Lucy, to fear. The morning of the judicial review, my ex-husband's name appeared on my caller ID. Richard, of all people. I hadn't heard from him since the divorce 2 years ago. "I saw the news," he said without greeting. "You know, it all makes sense now." "What are you talking about?" "Why you were always so distant, even in bed." His laugh was bitter. "Were you thinking about women the whole time we were married?" My hands gripped the phone tighter. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I? Remember Amanda, your best friend from law school? The way you looked at her at our wedding?" The name hit me like a physical blow. Amanda. I'd buried those memories so deep, tried to convince myself that intense friendship was all it had been. "I've got nothing to hide, Richard," I said, but my voice shook. "Really? Should I tell the review board about the letters I found? The ones you wrote to her but never sent?" The world tilted sideways. Those letters, pages of confused, passionate feelings I'd poured out during my first year of marriage, then hidden away. I thought I'd destroyed them all. "What do you want?" "Step down from the same-sex marriage case. Cite personal reasons. This all goes away." I hung up, feeling sick. A knock on my door revealed Lucy, looking worried. "Your clerk said you were white as a ghost when you came in. What's wrong?" I told her everything, about Amanda, the letters, Richard's threat. Her face darkened with each word. "He's blackmailing you?" "He's protecting me, in his twisted way. If those letters come out." "Then what?" Lucy challenged. "You'll be revealed as a human being who struggled with her sexuality, who had feelings for another woman years ago. My career is built on truth and justice. How can you dispense those if you're living a lie?" Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. The dissertation deadline committee wanted to meet with Lucy immediately. Something about concerns over her research methods. "They're questioning my integrity," she said, reading the email. "Suggesting I manipulated you for my study? This is my fault. If I hadn't..." "Don't." She grabbed my hand. "I knew what I was risking when I fell in love with you." The word hung between us, neither of us breathing. "Love?" I whispered. "Yes, damn it. I love you, Aaron Mitchell, and I'm tired of pretending I don't." A commotion outside my office interrupted us. Reporters had somehow gotten past security. Through the frosted glass, I could see cameras and microphones. "Judge Mitchell, can you comment on your relationship with PhD candidate Lucy Chen?" Lucy squeezed my hand. "Whatever you decide, I understand." Looking at her, I suddenly saw with perfect clarity what Amanda had meant all those years ago when she said, "Sometimes the scariest truth is better than the safest lie." I stood, straightening my robe. "Stay here." "What are you going to do?" Something I should have done 20 years ago. I opened my office door, facing the wall of cameras. The hallway fell silent. Yes, I attended an LGBTQ conference. Yes, I'm attracted to women. And yes, I'm still capable of interpreting the law fairly and justly. Any other questions? The explosion of camera flashes and shouted questions was deafening, but I felt lighter than I had in years. Behind me, through my office door, I caught a glimpse of Lucy's radiant smile. My phone was already ringing, probably Marcus having a coronary. But for the first time since I put on this robe, I felt truly worthy of it. Because justice isn't just about the law, it's about truth. Even when that truth costs you everything you thought you needed to hold on to. And sometimes, letting go is the only way to fly. The Judicial Review boardroom felt colder than usual. 7 pairs of eyes watched me from behind the curved oak table, Marcus Peterson's steel-gray gaze the most piercing among them. "Judge Mitchell," he began, "your recent revelation has raised concerns about your ability to maintain judicial impartiality." I sat straighter in my chair. "My personal life has no bearing on my interpretation of the law. Your relationship with Ms. Chen, who is directly involved in research pertaining to cases before your court, is no different than Judge Harrison's marriage to a civil rights attorney," I interrupted, "or Judge Thompson's husband lobbying for environmental causes. Claire, sitting among the review board members, gave me a subtle nod. "Those are established marriages," Marcus countered. "So it's not the relationship that bothers you," I said. "It's the gender of the person I'm in love with." The word love echoed in the chamber, making several board members shift uncomfortably. "Your Honor," a younger judge spoke up, "there's also the matter of these letters." He slid a familiar envelope across the table. My stomach dropped. Richard had actually done it. "Private correspondence from my past," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Written during a time of personal growth and self-discovery. They demonstrate a long-standing emotional conflict that could what?" I stood up, my chair scraping back. "Make me more empathetic? Help me understand the complex human aspects of the cases before me?" The door opened and Lucy slipped in, taking a seat in the back. Our eyes met briefly, giving me strength. "Members of the board," I continued, "I've spent 20 years hiding who I am to maintain an image of judicial propriety. But true justice requires authenticity. How can I ask others to tell the truth under oath if I'm living a lie?" "This isn't about your orientation," Marcus insisted. "Isn't it? Would we be here if I'd been photographed at a conference with a male researcher?" Silence answered my question. Hours later, after the board's deliberation, I sat in my chambers waiting for their decision. Lucy hadn't left my side. "Whatever happens," she said, "you were magnificent in there." "I'm terrified," I admitted. She took my hand, her thumb tracing circles on my palm. "I know." The tension broke when Claire burst in, grinning. "They're keeping you on the bench. Full support, with only Marcus dissenting." The relief hit me so hard I nearly collapsed. Lucy caught me, pulling me into her arms. "Take me home," I whispered against her neck. Later that night, in the soft darkness of my bedroom, Lucy's kisses tasted of victory and promise. Our bodies moved together with an intensity that made me forget everything but the feel of her skin against mine. The sound of her breath catching as we discovered each other completely for the first time. Afterward, lying in the quiet with her head on my chest, I finally felt whole. No more hiding, no more pretending. Just this beautiful, terrifying, perfect truth. "What are you thinking?" she murmured. "That some risks are worth taking." She propped herself up on an elbow, her hair falling like a curtain around us. "Even with everything you could have lost?" "I didn't lose anything that mattered," I said, pulling her down for another kiss. "I found everything I never knew I was looking for." Outside, the ocean waves crashed against the shore, their rhythm as steady as my newly unburdened heart. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, the media, the cases, the ongoing fight for equality. But for now, in this moment, justice had been served in the most personal way possible. I had finally set myself free. The morning I was set to deliver my ruling on the same-sex marriage case, my courtroom was packed. News cameras lined the back wall, their red lights blinking like artificial stars. Lucy sat in the front row, her presence both comforting and nerve-wracking. "All rise," my clerk called out. The Honorable Judge Aaron Mitchell presiding. Walking to my bench felt different now. The weight of my robe remained the same, but I carried it with new purpose. The whispers followed me, some supportive, others less so, but they no longer had the power to shake me. "Before I deliver my ruling," I began, "I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I am a judge who happens to be gay. And yes, I am ruling on a case involving LGBTQ rights. But here's what matters. I took an oath to uphold the law and protect the constitutional rights of all citizens. That oath doesn't change based on who I love." The courtroom fell silent. I could feel Lucy's proud smile without looking at her. "In the case of Pearson against the state of California," I took a deep breath. "The court finds that any law restricting marriage rights based on sexual orientation violates the fundamental constitutional principles of equality and human dignity." The room erupted. Through the chaos, I caught glimpses of faces, tears streaming down the plaintiff's cheeks, Lucy's brilliant smile, even a grudging nod from a conservative colleague. Hours later, after the media frenzy died down, Lucy burst into my chambers waving a stack of papers. "I did it," she exclaimed. "My dissertation defense, they unanimously approved it." I caught her in my arms, spinning her around. "Of course they did. It's brilliant work. They said my research could fundamentally change how we understand the intersection of personal identity and judicial interpretation. She paused, growing serious. None of this would have happened without you. You mean I made an excellent case study? I teased. You made me believe that love and justice aren't mutually exclusive. We were interrupted by a knock. Claire entered, carrying a bottle of champagne. Time to celebrate! The ruling is already being cited in cases across the country. As Claire poured the champagne, my phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. Well-reasoned judgment. Your personal circumstances didn't cloud your legal analysis. I was wrong about you. Speaking of personal circumstances, Lucy said, taking my hand. Move in with me? The question caught me off guard. What? My lease is up next month, and I'm tired of waking up without you. Claire nearly choked on her champagne. That's my cue to leave. Congratulations, you two, on everything. After she left, I turned to Lucy. Are you sure? The media attention hasn't died down yet. I'm sure about us, she said simply. The rest is just noise. Looking at her, I remembered that terrified woman who'd tried so hard to hide from herself. She seemed like a stranger now. Yes, I said, pulling her close. Let's make a home together. Later that night, walking along the beach behind my house, soon to be our house, Lucy stopped suddenly. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. She gestured to the sunset painting the sky in brilliant pinks and oranges. A year ago, I was just a stressed-out PhD candidate doing research on marriage equality. Now I'm moving in with a federal judge who changed history today. You changed history too, I reminded her. Your research, your courage to pursue truth, you changed me, and that changed everything else. She kissed me then, soft and sweet against the backdrop of crashing waves. As twilight settled around us, I thought about all the decisions that had led to this moment. Each one had seemed impossible at the time, but now they formed a perfect path to exactly where I was meant to be. Ready to go home? Lucy asked. Home. Not just a place, but a feeling, a truth, a love strong enough to shake the foundations of justice itself. With you? I smiled. Always. 6 months after my landmark ruling, I stood before a different kind of judgment. A room full of first-year law students at Oceanside University, where Lucy had accepted a position as an assistant professor. Judge Mitchell, a young woman, raised her hand. Did you always know you wanted to fight for equality? I caught Lucy's eye at the back of the lecture hall. Sometimes, I answered, the biggest fights find us when we're not looking for them. The students laughed, but Lucy's smile held a deeper understanding. We'd come so far from that first interview in my chambers. After class, walking hand in hand across campus, we passed a newsstand. My face was still making headlines occasionally, but now they read, Judge Mitchell's ruling influences Supreme Court decision, and from personal truth to legal precedent, how one judge changed the landscape. Professor Chen, a student called out, running to catch up. Is it true you're publishing a book about your dissertation research? Lucy squeezed my hand. Yes, but it's evolved into something bigger. It's about how personal authenticity shapes judicial integrity. The student beamed. That's amazing. Will you be including your own love story? Some stories, I cut in, are just for us. Later that evening, at our beachfront home, I found Lucy on the deck watching the sunset. She'd been quiet all day, which usually meant she was planning something. Penny, for your thoughts? I wrapped my arms around her from behind. I was thinking about your ring finger, she said casually. My heart skipped. Oh? She turned in my arms. I know we can't have a big public ceremony. The media would have a field day. Lucy. She dropped to one knee, pulling out a simple platinum band. But I thought maybe, just us and a few close friends. Yes, I whispered before she could finish. 1,000 times yes. 2 weeks later, Claire's private beach house hosted an intimate gathering. No press, no cameras, just love and acceptance. Marcus surprised everyone by attending, bringing his wife, who, it turned out, had a gay sister. You changed my mind, he told me during the reception. About a lot of things. The ceremony was simple but profound. Lucy wore a flowing white sundress that caught the ocean breeze, her black hair crowned with small white flowers. I chose a cream-colored suit that made her green eyes light up when she saw me. I used to think justice was black and white, I said in my vows. Until you taught me it comes in all colors of the rainbow. Lucy's vows made everyone cry. You showed me that sometimes the biggest acts of courage happen in the quietest moments, when we choose truth over safety, love over fear. As the sun set over the Pacific, we danced on the beach, our bare feet in the sand. Happy? Lucy murmured against my neck. Beyond words, I replied, holding her closer. Claire clinked her glass for attention. To Aaron and Lucy, who proved that true justice begins with being true to yourself. Later that night, alone on the moonlit beach, Lucy and I walked along the water's edge. Do you ever regret it? She asked. Coming out so publicly? I stopped, turning to face her. The only thing I regret is waiting so long to be this happy. She kissed me then, soft and sweet like that first time in the parking garage. But now without fear or hesitation. We'd face the judgment of the world and emerge stronger, our love a testament to the power of living authentically. Ready to go home, Your Honor? She smiled. I looked at my wife, my brilliant, beautiful wife, and felt the kind of peace that only comes from absolute certainty. I am home, I said, and kissed her again under the stars, where no gavel could ever judge us, and justice meant simply this: loving freely, living truthfully, and letting our hearts lead the way.